What if everything you knew was a lie? What if the truth was hidden in the stars? Brace yourself. Welcome to Truth Mafia News Episode 9. I'm your host, Tommy Truthful. Today, we delve into a war, unseen by most, a war between evil aliens, fallen angels, and the guardians of light. Our special guest, Ismael Perez, alien historian and author, reveals the dark secrets of an interdimensional galactic conflict. These malevolent entities wield technology so advanced, it is worshipped as a god. Imagine an artificial intelligence released upon worlds devouring organic matter, powering a phantom matrix. A matrix within a matrix, designed to enslave humanity. The Greys, sinister and relentless, have unleashed this AI to create a labyrinth of illusions. But hope is not lost. Good angels, benevolent aliens, stand ready to fight. Join us as we uncover the truth behind this cosmic struggle. Prepare to question reality and discover the secrets of the universe. This is Truth Mafia News. Let the revelation begin.
Welcome, my brothers and sisters, to another episode of Truth Mafia News. Excuse me, I did a 5-hour podcast last night, which I probably shouldn't have did, so I lost my voice. But we have a special guest today, Ismael Perez, and it's pronounced Ismael, not Ishmael. So in my intro, I kind of pronounced it a little off. But how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here, Tommy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and before we get going, guys, make sure you smash that like button. All the links are in the description. The most important link down there, guys, opt in to our daily newsletter. That way you get notifications, emails, and updates on everything dropped by the Truth Mafia, which, you know, we have some of the biggest content creators in the game on our platform that share content, share information. And we're happy to have Ismael here. I would love to get into the reptilians with you. I was always wondering if you knew about the Vril. When I heard you talking about different alien races, I'm like, man, I wonder if he knows about that species. So, yeah, I'm really excited about today's episode.
And 1 second, son, make sure you got that water next to you to take sips. If you need Papa Truthful to help you out, I'm here, son, to help you. Yeah. All you brothers and sisters, love you all very much. Share. And did I say share this? It's Facebook friendly, FluffTube, YouTube friendly. We're friendly on that, but share it out, folks. This is going to be some really awesome information. I've been involved in Ismael's class and also read both of his books, and massive knowledge coming forth here. Massive knowledge. His links for his books, his website, and all of that is also in the description. Back to you, son.
Which I love that he has the 8-pointed star on there. I use it a lot in my artwork. And, me and Ismael was talking prior to the podcast how the dark loves to steal our ancient symbols and sacred symbols and invert them and use them for negativity, attaching certain energies, But the certain symbols are not evil. Just like that star, the 8-pointed star, it goes back all the way. Well, first of all, it's in front of Las Vegas, right? We see it right there. But then it goes into Nana's naming cuneiform, and it is the Star of Anu, Enki, and Lil's father. So you say there's a good faction within the Anunnaki, Ismael?
Yes. Yeah, there's duality in everything. And one of the misconceptions regarding who and what the Anunnaki were has totally been inverted, first and foremost by the writers of history, which are the negative Anunnaki that took over the affairs of our world. And secondly, by the Cabal families that have been under their control for thousands of years. So according to the original records that predate actually Sumer, predate the ancient cuneiform writings, these are the records known as the cloister emerald tablets, which could be traceable back to hundreds of thousands of years ago, even before Atlantis. And these records are no longer available to the earth. But according to these records, the positive Anunnaki were the guardians, or were the watchers of our system. Because the universe and the galaxy is so big, everything is organized within the cosmic structure. So we are part of a system comprised of 52 star nations consisting of anywhere between 600 and 900 worlds. So they were in charge of our system, and there was an infiltration that took place in ancient times that, of course, was not or was mistranslated, you could say, by and inverted in the Sumerian tablets, where there was a reptilian infiltration from the Draco star system, who are the bad ETs, by the way, the fallen angels in the Bible, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
There was a huge infiltration in order to corrupt the whole, what they called the royal blood. So they corrupted the royal blood of the Anunnaki, which gave us two factions. So the negative Anunnaki, as a result of that infiltration, gave us what we call in suppressed history the draconian Anunnaki, the draconian reptilian Anunnaki. And this is exactly what the Bible talked about in every other culture when they talk about these fallen or 200 fallen angels. Well, technically they were known as the Igigi. So they are related to reptilian heritage. And then the other Anunnaki, which remained genetically intact, in other words, they weren't corrupted by the reptilian genetics, were the Lyran Syrian Anunnaki. So the Lyran Syrian Anunnaki are technically what these ancient manuscripts have always referred to as the angels. And yeah, I want to make that correlation that what we read in every tradition, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, Bible, when we talk about these angelic beings, what they are technically, my friend, are benevolent and positive extraterrestrials. Those are known as the angelic humans. However, the reptilians and the draconians, on the other hand, those are exactly what many manuscripts consider the fallen angels or the demonic forces. And so that's what happened with the Anunnaki, is that the negative Anunnaki...
The seraphim?
The seraphim is another terminology used to describe the good angels, right? Those are the guardian races, yes.
Okay. So you said the one that was corrupted, what line was that got okay? So there's two factions, and it seems to me, Ismael, there's a war going on between these two factions, between the eagle versus the serpent. We've always been taught that the eagle is the good one, but some people say it's vice versa, that Enki is the good one and Enlil's bad. Other people say it's the other way around. What's your knowledge on that?
Well, like I said, what happened was the ancient Sumerian cuneiform were inverted by Marduk, the son of Enki, and he rewrote everything. So even when Sakurai Sitchin got to those cuneiform tablets and translated them, they were already messed with and corrupted. So what it boils down to is this. Every ancient account, if you want to go beyond the Sumer tablets, if you want to study the Rig Vedas, the Upanishads, which are dated to thousands of years back, they all agree on one thing, that there was a sky war between positive extraterrestrials that were here to benefit us, that were here to uplift us, and then negative extraterrestrials that were here to exploit us and that were here to dominate us. So every ancient account, besides the Sumer tablets, talked about this aerial war between two factions. Well, it turns out that the faction that was here to inspire us were the ones that were working for the Guardian Alliance. So even the positive Anunnaki were part of some sort of interdimensional council regarding many other races who were invested in the protection of the different evolving worlds. But again, like I mentioned, there was an infiltration that took place in our past where the Draconians infiltrated the galactic royal blood and created their own version of royal corrupted genes, infusing it with reptilian genetics, and that gave us the Enki faction. Contrary to what everybody else is teaching out there, that Enki was the benefactor of humanity and that Enlil was the evil guy, that was inverted. It's actually the other way around. When you begin to study other accounts.
So Enlil is Jupiter, who is Zeus, which is always been taught to help humanity, right? And then Enki would be kind of Poseidon as far as the symbolism goes there, right? Because with the trident and everything, and Enlil's the god of the air.
Right. Yes, exactly. So basically, just like you said, according to the other translations, particularly the Greek translation, it is well known that Enki was Poseidon and Enlil was Zeus. And then when you read the other translations from the Akkadian text, as well as the text from ancient India, I think they were called the Rig Vedas.
Yes.
Well, they talk about the battle between, they use symbolism to describe these two functions, the eagle and the serpent. Well, Enki was the serpent, and as a metaphor, he was also the serpent in the Garden of Eden. He was the reason, technically, why we fell in consciousness. And he was also the reason why our bodies were downgraded to only a 2-strand helix. Let me explain something that Sakurai Sitchin never talked about, and something that was left out of these summer records. There was an already existing angelic race that existed on Earth during those times, which was known as the 12-strand DNA Terranusian race. Some people might refer to them as the original Atlanteans.
Right.
So we could say that, the original Atlanteans were not hominy. They were not monkey climbing primates. All right. This is our real history. That civilizations, galactic, full conscious humans that were not monkey climbing primates already existed on this planet for millions of years. And that is something that the powers that took over the affairs of this world, the negative Anunnaki, let's just call them the Luciferian Anunnaki, for lack of a better term,
Okay.
Twisted everything to make Enki look like the good guy, when in actuality, he was the one who took genetics from the Terranusian angelic race, and he mixed it with genetics from a simian primitive stock known as Homo erectus. And that's when the downgrade took place. That's why a lot of people are Rh positive blood type, because they have been corrupted with monkey genetics or primitive genetics. When
Wow.
yeah, exactly. So
What
that's
about the Agigi? The Agigi, that was my question when you were breaking it down before, and I forgot what I was going to say. The Agigi, so I've heard so many stories that they kind of rebelled against Anunnaki, and they were like the first creation. Is any of that true?
No, not at all. So the Igigi, according to the original translations, again, I'm referencing this information to the original Emerald tablets, not the Sumer tablets, but the original Emerald tablets. They were the cloister tablets that were established here by the Syrians. The Syrians are the original guardians and seeders of this planet, not the Anunnaki. Okay, so based on those records, the Igigi were the rebel Anunnaki. They were the ones that corrupted the original galactic royal blood of Lyra and Sirius, which of course later led to the incarnation of Yeshua, Jesus Christ. But to answer your question, the Igigi was a genetic potpourri of insectoid, reptilian, and a little bit of other genes. So they weren't fully, you could say by that point they had already fallen. They were already joining the Luciferian rebellion based on their genetic programming. So that's what when the Bible talks about the 200 fallen angels,
Yes.
it basically refers to the Igigi and Enki, who was their leader. So the Igigi are the fallen angels, and they were forbidden to mix and cohabitate with the evolving daughters of men, the daughters that had already been, again, starting from the bottom up after they corrupted the Atlantean species by mixing Atlantean genetics with primitive genetics to create a slave race. And that was the beginning of slavery on this planet. When we fell under the control of the Igigi, Enki, and then later, of course, his son Marduk, which the ancient Babylonians called Belial Baal, and that's the guy who they've been, sacrificing all the little ones to for the last few. Well, him and his cousin Molech, they're all extraterrestrials, by the way. They have been running the show for the last few thousand years.
So these people, are they humanoids like us, and how are they living so long? Does that have something to do with where they're from or their DNA? Was it bred out of us? Did we live that long at one time?
Well, the Anunnaki, one of the reasons why they downgraded the Atlantean original race, the 12-strand Terranusian race, was because we had an additional strand than they did. In other words, we were more royal than they did. And they knew that if one day we used our full capacity, the full 12-strand genetic codex, that we would become even more powerful than them. They only had 11 strands of DNA, the Anunnaki. So they knew that one day we would surpass them. And that's the reason why they had mixed our DNA with monkey DNA, or not us, but the Atlanteans, to create Homo sapiens sapiens. So they were always jealous of us because they knew that one day we would become more powerful than them.
So they wanted to make us a bunch of monkeys, like slaves, so that we're not real bright, and we can just do the work for them. Correct?
Exactly. Now, to answer your question, the Anunnaki were, because they did use 11 strands of DNA, they were had a lifespan of about 100,000 years or more. So that's yeah.
Wow.
And the reason that they were able to trick and downgrade and manipulate the already existing Atlantean race, which was, again, telepathic, was because of the fact that they had technology to block their telepathy, first and foremost, and also because of the fact that they were only using 6 strands of their full 12-strand genetic capacity. They were supposed to, according to the Syrians that seeded this planet, in all of his seedings, Atlantean was the 4th epoch, the 4th seeding. We're now in the 5th seeding. And this time is supposed to be a success. Thank God, as our DNA becomes activated. The reason that they were only allowed to use 6 strands during the Atlantean times was because they wanted to make sure that their technology did not bypass their spiritual development. They always wanted them to evolve first spiritually before the technological development came into place. So unfortunately, under the control of Enki, who was the one who infiltrated the Atlantean colony, completely corrupted the high priest and high priestess of the Council of Amenti, who were the guardians of during the Atlantean times. They were the administrators when Atlantis was in its golden age. The reason he did that was to eventually corrupt, and that's the reason why Atlantis fell and became destroyed in the end, was because Enki knew that they weren't spiritually evolved yet. So what he did is he seduced them with technology. He gave Atlanteans too much technology to the point where the Atlanteans developed a technocratic dystopia at the expense of their spiritual maturity. And that is the reason why we fell during Atlantean times.
Kind of like what we're doing now.
Exactly.
With technology. And I wanted to ask you, is this right on the family tree of these Mesopotamian gods?
Yeah, it looks pretty accurate to me, brother.
So Enlil, man, I always had a feeling, my favorite god was always Zeus, and people always told me, oh, Tommy, you shouldn't like Zeus, he's evil. But I mean, every story I ever read, he was saving humanity. You know what I mean? So I never could understand that. And even like I do these decodes, bro, and even in the decodes, you'll see like, dude, I fully believe that some of these people running around are non-player characters in this reality that we're in. I really do, bro. And even in the decodes, like, okay, for example, you've heard of the pineal gland, our third eye. Even the ancients, Anunnaki, they talked about something that like a soul stone, which looked very similar to the pine cone or the pineal gland. I think it's all tied to that crown chakra in the third eye. But when you look at gematria, right, in Chaldean especially, which comes from this goes all the way back. This is one of the oldest, purest forms of gematria, going back to the Akkadians, actually, based on 1 through 8. Okay, so they wouldn't use the number 9 because it was so sacred and divine. Right. And in this cipher, pineal gland open is 64, matching first player character when your awakened avatar, when your pineal gland is open. And then the sleeping human, the pineal gland sleep, is non-player character. So what else matches with that? 63, you have Saturn, right? That black cube, and then 64 is tied to Zeus and Jupiter. So it's a positive thing as far as the numbers show.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to show. The numbers have always showed that, Zeus is not our enemy and is our friend. But this is my opinion on it.
I want to ask a question real quick to you, brother Ishmael. You know, I've when going through your books, how you correlate it to some of the stuff that's in the Old Testament, right? I've read and studied a lot of different religions around the world. And, I was raised as a Catholic and then Christian, baptized in front of 10,000 people in Canton, Trinity Temple there. But, it was very strict. I had to go through that, but I always knew there was much more. When they said, meditation's from the devil, and yoga's from the devil, and karate's from the devil, and I loved all that stuff. And I look at there was 366 books that Enoch dictated, correct, from the Creator,
Right.
and yet you only get access to a few of them. And when you read those, a lot of stuff lining up with what my son and you've been talking about. And that's why, when I first seen you on Nino's show, I sent TJ a link. I said, this guy is like, there's a lot of stuff that you guys are talking similar, but now attending your class and listening, and what you share, and I'm not going to divulge that, but what you share there, man, you've done some serious studying here, bro. I mean, you've accessed a lot of different records around this subject, and it's very, I have discernment. You have discernment. My son has discernment. And when I was in the Dominican Republic, I was, watching Nino. I like Nino, and I seen you on his show, and I seen your books, and what came right into me, get them books. Well, I was still in Dominican Republic for 2 months before I got back and I read these books. But I think that a lot of people, they're going to have a hard time moving forward with this information. They need to understand it because we've been lied to. Nothing, like what you and TJ are talking about. That's what I call my son TJ. How they convert everything, right? Who's good is really bad, and who's bad is really good. Just like what's going on right now, it seems like what is bad is good, and what is good is bad. Right now, and then you and TJ get back into stuff, but right now, a lot of people are living in straight up fear porn. And there's a lot of people out there, and this, and I know that you feel the same way I do, that we got to get people into a higher vibration. We got to get them into a higher frequency. We got to start declaring and decreeing, like you were saying. We have 12 strands of DNA. We're made in the Creator's image. We have power. We need to start stepping into it and start getting involved in solutions, and not being involved in all, get indoctrinated with all this fear, brother. And one thing that I like and love about what you do is, you talk about, that the earth is ascending, the vibration is increasing. I mean, for God's sakes, 2 days, yesterday, I think, the geyser at Yellowstone exploded like it hadn't done that, and it rained rock down and all kinds of stuff. This earth is creaking, and it is, really, it's getting hot and heavy. I have been talking about these two different timelines, heaven on earth and hell on earth. You actually said the other day there's a middle one, in between it. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think, people need to have not hopium, but know that, yes, there is a way that you can go with the good, heaven on earth, and not have to be here for, this AI God and all this other stuff that's going to happen.
Right, exactly. What's happening right now in our world is that everything is coexisting. There is an infinite amount of alternative parallel Earth realities, but they are about to collapse into only 3 timelines. For those that are doing, for those that are not aligning with AI, for those that are doing the spiritual work, for those that are being just generally good people, you don't necessarily have to be a saint and a monk to ascend. All you got to do is, at least according to the law of one, 51%. Service to others, and just generally a good person to make the positive timeline. However, within the cabal sector, you could say a lot of these billionaires who have been sold immortality by merging with technology through transhumanism, that timeline is going to be ruled by AI. So unfortunately, those two realities, I guess I want to say fortunately, they are going to split. So the people that are not partaking of being a digital avatar, of getting the chip, merging with technology, are actually going to be going into a organic, positive heaven on earth timeline. And those that buy into the idea that they want immortality, if they want these superpowers, but only if they merge with technology, right? Then they're going to go into a negative technocratic dystopia. However, there is also going to be a middle timeline where you're going to have people who have ascended abilities, with people that are metahuman, that are going to have these amazing supernatural powers, as expressed through movies like X-Men and Marvel and DC. Those are all soft disclosures, by the way. The writers of these comics had access to the truth beyond the Matrix. And you're also going to have cyborgs in the middle timeline, that is. And you're also going to have Earth Terrans that are ascending in increments, but are not necessarily going to have the superpowers. So in that timeline, that's going to usher in the age of the superheroes. And the villain in that timeline are going to be the AI timeline, or the AIs that are currently being developed through Skynet. So Skynet has already been built. They've been developing Skynet for over 15 years now. And a lot of that has to do with the Internet of Things, with the global smart cities and all that stuff. But soon those two realities are going to bifurcate. And when that happens, things are going to, for about 1,000 years, they're going to be separated. And at the end of 1,000 years, there's going to be one final battle between the organic timeline, those that did not merge with technology, those that did it organically through the ascension, and of course, the technocratic AI dystopia timeline. And then that war, which is going to be the final war, will determine what happens in all of the cosmos. So that explains why all eyes are on us right now.
Is that the final war versus this beast system that they're building?
Yeah, the B system is the AI infrastructure that big tech is developing as I speak.
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, I did I did this breakdown on alchemy, and I seen a lot of connections with CERN and D-Wave and mind control.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that kind of blew my mind. And like I told you, when I do these decodes, all the stuff connected to the non-player character is tied to this phantom matrix, like this artificial reality they're creating, bro. Exactly. And I wanted to, and I don't see no Zeus or Jupiter tied to that. I see Saturn and Satan, Yaldabaoth, this reptilian faction, tied to that. Are they creating some type of phantom matrix?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, according to the Gnostic text, Yaldabaoth, the one who created these third-dimensional mortal bodies that downgraded the Atlanteans, who used to live for thousands of years. See, our original ancestors did live long, right? Which explains the sudden decrease of lifespan in people like Methuselah, Seth, Noah, Abraham, and so on and so forth.
Right. They lived like 800-900 years, right?
Say that again?
They lived like 800-900 years at that time.
No, the original Atlanteans had a lifespan of about 2,000 to 3,000 years.
No, I was talking about like Methuselah, Noah.
Oh yeah, they lived for about 800 years or so, 600 to 900 years. You're right.
That's a great. Now they've shrunk us down to, the time. It's not even fair because you just start getting going and then you're gone. You know what I mean? It's pretty.
And bro, like what he was talking about earlier with the Hindu and the bro, there are literally these wars they would have in the sky. I mean, you would have to be crazy to think that's not some advanced civilization doing that, right? Whether they're interdimensional from wherever they're from. And they say, okay, this is a big thing people argue about among the whole Anunnaki thing. You have people, some say that all the Anunnaki were, melanated, and other people say they were Caucasians with blue eyes, fair skin. Was there multiple races among them, or is the Anunnaki more fair colored? Do you know that?
The terminology Anunnaki could mean anybody that comes from the sky. In other words, that come from, when you think of beings that come from the heavens, technically they're coming from other star systems, because we know that when we go into the sky, There are billions of solar systems with innumerable worlds and billions of galaxies. So anything that comes from the sky is termed Anunnaki. So there are multiple races out there, not just the Anunnaki, that have been involved and have interfered many of times. But the latest one was the Anunnaki. Yes, the Anunnaki. Well, let me just say the negative Anunnaki, because the positive Anunnaki were the Watchers. Those were the ones that were guarding the Atlantean race. And again, that was Zeus. And there is record in other tablets, not just the summer tablets, but when you study the Greek version, there is record that Zeus was involved in the elimination of all these abominations that were made by the master geneticist. And who was the master geneticist? That was mixing animals with humans, serpents with monkeys, and creating all these abominations.
Fallen angels, right?
The fallen angels. Enki. Well, Enki was the master. He was at the head of the fallen angels.
Yeah, he's Ea. Ea's the master
exactly.
geneticist. And he made his, they said Enki made his he made his empire underground in the Apsu. I always wonder what that meant. Like, man, they got all these military underground bases. Is that his little empire?
Yeah. Yeah, and their headquarters was in the Apsu, which is what we call today the region of Africa, because that's where he landed. That's where he took an existing hominid, a simian hominid, primitive race, Homo erectus, and then he went over to Atlantis, which was in the Atlantic Ocean, and in order to create a slave race, he took genetics from the Atlanteans, knowing that he was going to corrupt Atlantis and that their fate was going to be ending up in destruction. He took genetics from the Atlanteans, he took genetics from Homo erectus, and he took genetics from himself to create the Homo sapiens. And the difference between us and the Cabal family is that the Cabal families, he gave them a little bit more of reptilian and DNA infusion. He gave them about 55% reptilian genetic infusion so that these Cabal families could have that extra third strand, which was reptilian in nature. And that explains why the Illuminati families have always wanted to exploit, dominate, and control everybody, every resources, because it was embedded in them through genetic engineering.
Wow.
And some of the factions are still alive today. So, okay, for example, the Rothschilds, right? Everybody knows who they are. What faction are they part of? That's what I always wonder.
Well, apparently they suffer from a high concentration of reptilian genetics because they are the kingpins of the bank of what used to be called the Babylonian funny money, central banking system. All of those people, all of those families, the 13 bloodlines, are all descendants of this chosen lineage that Enki genetically engineered so that they could maintain power and act as their lackeys on Earth. So while Enki, and this was off the record, while Enki was busy going to other systems, genetically modifying species to create different loosh farms. You guys know what loosh farms mean, right?
Loosh is the energy that they harvest through, like I'm going to be careful what I say here. The adrenal that they harvest from the kids. They terrorize these children, which produces adrenaline, and then there is a chemical in it.
Be careful, son. Be careful.
Be careful.
We're on smack book here.
But there's a chemical in it that stops the telomeres in your DNA from withering, which halts aging. And, that gets into the reptilians. They say they've been using that type of stuff for a long time. And the loosh is the trauma or the energy being produced during them type of rituals, right?
Absolutely, yes. And so basically we could trace the Cabal families back to Nimrod. And if you want to be technical, we could trace them back to Cain. Cain was the offspring of the serpent and Eve. And who was the serpent? Yalbadeth, Enki, Poseidon.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I sit here and think about, as this continues to go and, more and more people need education. A lot of people, brother, they're indoctrinated. in religion. And I always tell people it's not about religion, it's about relationship. It's about spiritual practice, getting your energy portals. Some people call that the chakras, getting those working with your energy body, your physical body, and your all that working in harmony together to get your connection as close as possible. Even like lately, I've noticed I am not wanting to eat meat as much. Is that because we're headed into a higher frequency and vibration where some of this stuff that people are eating and doing is going to fall off, the ones that are moving down the path of more of a heaven on earth than hell on earth, or the in between?
It all depends on the individual, but we are all, you could say, having different ascension symptoms because the Earth is moving up in frequency. There will be some bifurcation of timelines very, very soon, which is going to be, you could say, it's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be, I can't even think right now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm drawing a blank. It's going to be generated by the great solar flash. That's where I was trying to get.
Oh, the solar, yeah. Which will they say the solar flash is reinstating certain forms of ancient consciousness and activating certain strands of angelic DNA within our dormant strands, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I created.
That's why I always tell people that when the solar flash takes place, our bodies are going to transform. We're still going to look human, but the only difference is that we're going to have these ascended abilities that many call supernatural powers. We're going to be able to teleport, telekinesis, defy gravity, fly, and this is all inherited within our divine DNA. And that's the reason, guys, why the fallen angels suppressed us for so many thousands of years, because they were afraid of this time. They had access to the original prophecies, and that explains why people like Gates and all of these cabal members that are working for the WHO are trying so hard to numb us down with genetically modification. You know what I mean?
Everything. They're putting it now. Yeah, they're putting it in the air. They're putting it in the food. They're putting it in the water. They're putting it in the meat. I mean, it's like it's saturated in here in the United States. We're just full of it. So, brother, let me ask you another question. And it was very interesting because my son, I'm involved in, we're going to be talking about Defend Planet Earth. The electromagnetic pollution is eating up the atmosphere, and I will mispronounce this magnetic sphere. I think magnetosphere is weakening. The Earth is groaning, and we see now, I think we're going to see more volcano eruptions, even though we've been seeing them. We've been seeing earthquakes. We've been seeing a lot of stuff. It seems to me, and I'm not quoting a time, but it seems to me that things are getting close to what some people would claim the rapture, or, what God has given me is the great separation. This is what he has been talking to me about for years, and I've talked about it on the Patreon Lama show about this great separation. Or how close, and I'm not holding you to timelines, brother, but based on what's happening, the energy, the shaking, and I think the shaking is just going to continue to increase. Where are we, you think, in that a timeline before this thing splits?
Hey, Pops, that movie you like, that series before Ismael answers that? Sorry, Ismael.
Okay.
Those About to Die, it's trending right now. Don't you remember, bro? The volcano blew up in it. So
yeah, that was last night's episode. So all these subliminal messages are being sent to us through movies, through everything. But
that's the
yeah.
In that show, they showed a lot of symbolism of the Fleur de Lis. So they're letting you know what family's tied to that. The Fleur de Lis, that's where we see the bee symbolism in Jupiter ascending the bees when it sting the girl, because she was from royal lineage. She was from the Abrasax family, and Abrasax is actually a demon, archon, right? It has a head of a chicken, legs of a serpent, and that's the the family that ruled the whole world in Jupiter Ascending.
Was it? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Jupiter Ascending, which I think I've watched about 3 or 4 times and just recently watched it. It's very,
it's amazing, but
yeah, it's pretty interesting how they lay these things out.
In their crafts, even in that, Dad, are the bee symbolism, which goes back to the Fleur de Lis in this Merovingian family, which they say the Antichrist lineage is supposed to come out of this bloodline and family tree. And what my question was for Ismael is, does this lineage go into the evil side?
Yeah, that is the serpent gene. You could say that is the bloodline of Marduk, which could be traceable to Babylon. Babylon is the cradle of the abomination of desolation, which is equivalent to what we call the beast system, the rule of fascist totalitarian empires. They all stem from Babylon. So the NWO today, it's no other than just the resurrected Holy Roman Empire under a new name. And that's one of the things that I talk about in The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. This battle between good and evil could be traceable not only back to ancient times, but technically to off-world. For those that have read our Cosmic Origin, I detailed and describe the galactic wars that took place between the Draconians and the Lyrans. So this wars began actually 600 million years ago in our universe. But again, because we're dealing with the multiverse, it transferred from other universe realities as well.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. The serpent gene, the gene of the Cabal families, is, you could say, part of the bloodline of the Antichrist. However, there are 2 Antichrists. The first Antichrist has been ruling our world for thousands of years, and their time was limited, and that's why the Earth Alliance is about to expose them. And then we also have the second beast, which is artificial intelligence. Well, super AI, not primitive AI. I mean, within the private sector, they are already building they're already getting ready to connect the quantum D-Wave supercomputer that Google perfected in 2018 with an AI system that is going to be connected to everybody's gadgets, everybody's laptop, and everybody's cell phone. And that is the true meaning of how this thing is going to be everywhere at once when it finally emerges as super AI.
And this is the artificial intelligence that's eating organic matter.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about is, that whole AI God thing. Because when I said to TJ, we were talking about, 5G, with some of the devices we work with, the Bodyline company, all of that, about, trying to reverse this stuff. But is that part of this AI God? You increase the energy consumption, it increases the electromagnetic pollution, and then is it like destroying worlds this way? I mean, it integrates itself into everything? Like you said, it's going to be it was weird. My wife was looking for something on her phone. I wasn't looking for it on my phone. But then when I went online on my phone, it was showing what she was looking for. So these things are already listening to everything that we're talking about, these cell phones, right? So yes. This timeline.
They got HARP too, Dad, and HARP, the geoengineering, shooting them beams up at the ionosphere. That's heating up our atmosphere. That's heating up organic matter too. So it's like all that stuff is some type of fallen angelic technology, I think.
Well, if you go on the spiritual journey, you don't need all the technology because you can manifest whatever you're thinking about. But when you go down the technology way, this is interesting. So these two, the timeline and then the mid ground, right? Where there'll be people that are, positive and negative, right? Within that middle timeline, where more or less that negative timeline is going to be like, pretty much like every scriptures predict hell on earth here with all these disasters and fights and wars. You said something I think a few weeks ago on one of your shows about the pole shift. Will there be a pole shift in this other timeline? Because I see the shaking. Yellowstone people just blow that off yesterday, but I was given discernment a couple years ago about Yellowstone, and that no, it won't be where it destroys the whole planet, but it's going to pop off. And it looked like it started to, heat up yesterday. I mean, it looks like everything's shaken up, man. I mean,
$640,000 years.
when do you think this, in your opinion, when do you think this separation is going to happen?
I think it's going to happen at solar maximum, which is spring 2025, but I'm not going to say for sure, because from what I've come to uncover is that the current holographic, you could say, matrix that we're living in, this current construct, which is really an illusion, was set into motion by the negative Anunnaki about 12,000 years ago, no, 10,000 years ago. And that's when we fell from consciousness, from being a part of an advanced civilization into, savages. So this current reality construct is scheduled to end by no later than 2030. But however, again, it could happen before 2030, because we are expecting to reach a solar maximum event that many believe could be the solar flash by no later than spring of 2025. So I would say that is the time frame.
And the Great Tribulation, using gematria in English ordinal, where A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and so forth. The Great Tribulation equals 225, which is a variation of 2025 when you drop the 0, right?
Right.
So I think you're on to something. I've been saying this for a long time. I believe 2025 through 2032 will be a 7-year period that we've never seen before, brother.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I don't.
Well, on the negative timeline, I'm gonna, I think you feel the same way, Ishmael, that people have to work on their connection with the Creator and make sure that they're doing the morning. Like in the morning, I'll spend, the first 90 minutes to 2 hours of my day in prayer and meditation, and then I do my Tai Chi to open up all of my portals. I feel the energy. I mean, I've been doing this for years now. I can feel the energy. I will put the energy in my house, then in my town, then in my city, my county, my state, my country, my world, my universe, and put my light out there. People have no idea how powerful we are, made in the Creator's image, and where, like you and TJ are talking about, when we get hit with this blast, and we've been getting hit with these blasts, right, from the sun, because I've been feeling it. I mean, I've had one take me right out of my chair. That this one blast is going to make that final push, and then that's when that timeline is going to split.
Yes. Yeah, that flash is expected, according to the secret knowledge that was kept within the secret societies. And that's why, again, the negative faction, the Luciferian Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of the Snake, they known about this time. And that's why they're doing everything in their power to suppress us as much as possible. But that is supposed to completely activate what is known as the 12 Meridian time warps. Some people call them the 12 major gates that are going to actually literally translate, for those that have a matching frequency, it's going to literally translate them into the positive earth, the Garden of Eden, heaven on earth that has always been here. But again, there's been this overlay that prevents us from being from perceiving and existing in that paradise, that original Garden of Eden, where we originated from. So when that happens, all we're going to do is translate from this reality, 3D, into fifth reality within a second. And then that's when we're going to know that we are back to being full conscious, and we're back to existing in our original reality.
Well, they have a patent at the U.S. Patent Office where if you get your chakras in a certain frequency, you can literally walk through walls.
Oh, yeah.
And what you were saying is that everything's layered within the same space. But based on your vibration, it's how Christ appeared in the middle of the room, like zap, because he could increase his vibration, right, from each different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
This is such an exciting time to be alive, brother. I want you to, and then I know TJ's got a few more questions, and then we want to talk to you about your books a little bit too. You've got 2 really magnificent books, and I read this one first. It was so intriguing the way that you laid this out. I mean, I've read a lot of, literature and scripture, and the way this was laid out, I literally could not, I wanted to read it. I wanted to read more of it. I wanted to digest more of it. And that's very important when you're putting the book together. You got the download on this book. Is this book from your studies of what you studied? Were you also getting downloads when you were writing, putting this book together? Can you talk a little bit about this?
Sure, it was a little bit of both. I was getting a lot of transmissions from my galactic self, because as multidimensional beings, we do exist in other realities, by the way, not just in this one. I was getting transmissions from my galactic self, and so I was compelled to do the research to see if there was any confirmation to some of this galactic history. I used to think I was crazy, but as I did the research, my friend, as I studied some of the, classified information by remote viewing, I came to understand that my downloads were actually real. It was information coming from my galactic avatar, and we all have galactic avatars, by the way. And so that's how that book came about. So that's why it took me about 10 years to write it.
10 years to write. And then you followed it up with a couple years ago. By the way, this is a 4.9. That other one's a 4.5. And I read, one of the persons just as a, excuse my French, but an a-hole, because I read that book, and I read book after book after book after book. I'm going through the Gnostic Bible right now again. So I'm always absorbing it. My son will tell you, I've been studying this stuff, son, and telling you about it right since you was a little one. You took it even further. He's 41 now. But this book, I really believe that everybody should read this book. I think everybody should read this book, but you have an order. I know you had said, you would recommend that people read that book first, and then afterward read the other one.
Right.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Unless you're already deep in the rabbit hole and have a concept of multidimensionality, the multiverse, extraterrestrial civilizations, Atlantis, then you could start with our cosmic origin. But if you are not deep into the rabbit hole, if you just want to get your feet wet to understand the suppressed history of our world, the battle between the Cabal and the Brotherhood of Light, which is what we call the Earth Alliance / White Hats, they do have a history too. Then you might want to start with The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. And they're both available on Amazon. So it's up to the reader, it's up to the person. But if you start with The Secret Government, it's actually going to be a little bit better because it's going to help you understand the galactic wars between the different, between the Federation and the Galactic Draconian Empire. Because The Secret Government is an actual prequel to our cosmic origin.
Okay. Yeah, I recommend these books, and we'll continue to recommend them. We're putting the Secret Government channel together on Sovereign Radio, which we're excited. You're going to be, just as my son's going to be, guest as we roll out the, we have a goal by the end of 2025 to be with 200 online show host influencers and 200 radio stations. So we'll literally be reaching, 10 million people, 20 million people a week. And so, my goal and what I feel I'm here to do is to get this information out. And some will, some won't. So what next? I'm not here. I know that it's not a reality that everybody's going to be saved. We're going to lose a lot of people as this thing happens, I would say, wouldn't you? We're going to lose a lot of people. Some people will be gone in the bad timeline, the hell on earth, Armageddon, freaking beast system timeline.
Well, depending on where they're vibrating, my friend, and it's all an individual choice. It's you have the choice to either take the red pill or the blue pill. If you take the red pill, you're going to end up on the positive timeline. You're going to wake up, right, to the truth of what, and therefore you're going to be ready to ascend when this solar flash takes place. But if you continue drinking their Kool-Aid and you continue taking the blue pill, I feel sorry for you. So it's going to be very hard for I don't want to use the word normie, but for the unawakened to really ascend when this hits the fan. Now, somebody asked in the chat.
The majority, right?
The majority, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's the majority of people, unfortunately. But no, what you're talking about energy and the exchange of energy. I mean, that would make sense that, if we're vibrating on certain frequencies, we could merge with the other realities. I've always believed that. I'm practicing remote viewing right now, Ismail. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, I had one experience where it was really strange. So, but all the stuff my dad was talking about, being able to walk through walls and stuff, they really have patents on this. And I believe it with all my heart. See what they've done to us, bro, is they've got us not to believe it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So now we don't believe that we can do this stuff. Right here's the patent. You get your vibration to match the right energy frequency, and you can, walk through walls using hyperspace energy. They patent this. I mean, I've got all the patent numbers, links to it. So it's very interesting. Somebody at least went out of their way to patent this breakdown on how to walk through walls. Now, I've tried it. I keep hitting the wall. Unfortunately. yeah, I haven't walked through yet, but I'm working on it. I'm going to continue to
couple walls you might have walked through, and then you had to get the drywall and repair them. But
I think
that's
it
okay.
Work, I really believe that there's some people out there that can do it.
Yes, and there's already people out there that are already experimenting with telekinesis.
Right.
It's because, again, our dormant DNA is slowly but surely coming back online. It's activating, and that's why we're going to have these ascended abilities. Now, somebody in the chat asked about the name of my book. It's actually called The Secret Government Invisible Architects. And the second one is called Our Cosmic Origin. And you could find these books both on Amazon, or you could go to my website and still get them through Amazon. There is a link there, www.ourcosmicorigin.com.
Yeah, and we have the link in the description of the website and to both books. So you can click on those in the website and both books. Brother Ismael, I look very much forward to you helping wake more people up. Son, I know you got some more questions, but I want to value Brother Ismael's time too. So hit him up with your questions. And I'd like to open it up, if you don't mind, Ismael, for about 15 minutes for questions.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about how you and I and my son and, the team, all the people we got involved with Sovereign Radio and everything, helping to wake as many people up as possible, get them into that positive vibrational timeline. Cause I feel a big sense of urgency, bro. I mean, like I've never felt in my life. I feel like this, what you mean? You're like on, like you feeling like it's getting ready. That's what I feel. I really, truly feel that in my spirit. I feel it.
Oh.
I got one that I really saved for the end because I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Ismail. Mm-hmm. So I know you're, probably hip to this. I mentioned the Vril in the beginning, and through my research, I keep seeing all this symbolism tied to black goo dripping from people's eyes, and then like a worm going into their eye, right? So I start researching it. I find all this information on soul scraping, where some Vril reptilian, the proboscis goes through the eye. But then I'm thinking, wait a second, this sounds more like technology to me. Like black goo might be some type of nanotechnology that allows them to transfer consciousness from one host to another. But maybe it is a lizard's proboscis. I don't know. What's your theories on this?
It is exactly what you described it as. It is a nanotechnology, very subtle, very symbiotic, very liquid-like, that is kind of like programmable matter as well.
Yeah.
That comes out of people's bodies once they have it. Yes. So black goo is inorganic. It comes from the NAA, the Negative Alien Agenda Syndicate group, and they use that to invade worlds from within. And that explains the bioweapon. That's how AI takes over planets. It takes about 100 years. But in the end, they do convert biological life forms into robotics. And that was the whole purpose of the bioweapon.
How long they been here doing that? How long?
Remember?
According to my research, as I've accessed the intergalactic records, many galaxies, about hundreds of thousands of galaxies, had been destroyed due to this AI invasion. Yeah, this AI infection. They call it a cosmic virus.
And what he said
is this the last battle too? are we going to battle this AI God? I mean, is that part of the 1,000-year end of the 1,000 years where we are now made in the Creator's image? We've come into full power with the Creator, and is that where that battle takes place, where we destroy that God AI?
Yes, that's the last battle that every account, every manuscript talks about it. That's going to take place at the end of the millennium. So, at the end of the millennium, and because the future is already taking place, we've already won that war. That's why we're still here. Otherwise, we would cease to exist. So, yeah, we've already won that war against AI. It's just that right now we're in the 3D. It seems like it hasn't happened yet, but it's already happened.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is. It's mind blowing for most people, right? But everything that we've been taught is a lie, right? Pretty much every single thing is reverted. But it's interesting that we're so close because we're literally, here's July's flying by. The timeline is like accelerating.
Yeah.
We're Thursday again tomorrow. Can you believe it? It almost looks like weeks are days, and months are weeks, and it's just speeding up. Is that part of all of this, that time is like, I don't know if it's collapsing or it's accelerating? It looks like it's accelerating. Time is accelerating.
And that has to do with the Fibonacci ratio, the golden means. So time seems to be speeding up because we're approaching what is known as zero point. And that is when we go through the eye of the needle, the great solar flash, the bifurcation of timelines.
Oh, very powerful. Son,
Yeah,
you got anything else before we hit the audience here with the questions?
Yeah. I wanted to ask him what he's talking about with the solar flash. That's what we've been taught is like the Phoenix phenomenon or the plasma apocalypse. I mean, it's called many different things, but the ancients will talk about it, and they wrote this stick man figure, and it was when like plasma would pour in, and they say plasma is some type of consciousness itself. You know what I mean? And it is. If you've ever watched it and how it acts, there's something intelligent going on there, which I feel most likely is. I mean, anything could be positive and negative. So, but before these cataclysms, they had like free energy technology. They were talking about civilizations like Tartaria. I don't know if that was real or not, but I think the technology of that timeline was real. Where they were using that free energy type technology, bro.
Yeah, it was real. By the way, there are evidences that there are remnants of Tartaria deep within the mud, deep within the you could say our Earth. But yeah, that was a civilization that actually existed about 200 years ago. And it flourished for a few hundred years. And the only reason we don't have any recollection of that is because they wanted to erase that out of history, completely out of our consciousness. And they achieved it, apparently. But yeah, Tartaria was real.
Yeah.
Is that why also all our house, they always try to suppress the energy, right? So
Exactly.
everything used to be domes, right? Like rounded walls and everything. Now everything's in a corner because the energy's not flowing. They want to stop all this energy from flowing properly so that people can't move forward. Imagine if we weren't blocked. People are moving forward anyways, right? A portion, but many more people would move forward if they wouldn't have put all these blocks in place.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right, brother. You're right.
Well, the cube is tied to Saturn, Dad, which gives us limitations. So,
right.
The block is corrupting the energy flow. It's not moving naturally, so that's probably you're definitely probably right there. They're onto something. But what I want to show Ishmael real quick. Okay, so I do the decoding, right? And I seen a connection with aliens and CERN. I'm thinking that's the evil faction. And then when I was looking at technology, I did this decode on tethered, right? Because I think these archons or this reptilian faction, whatever they are, the evil ETs are tethered to this technology, like you were talking about AI going through eating up realities and stuff. And looking at the word tethered, you see alien agenda, Apple Inc., AI takeover, element 34 selenium, which is used to make their cells in the smart lights part of their smart grid. And I think that smart grid is so this AI consciousness can rule whatever it is.
Exactly. Well, that's what the whole purpose of any smart thing is. The Internet of Things. It's all so that AI could rule everything and have absolute control, even of people's thoughts. Now they have built a technology that through your cell phone and through the negative frequencies that are coming from these towers, they're literally able to put thoughts in your mind.
Oh, it's going
And
on.
read your thoughts and read your
Right.
thoughts on top of that.
How long is that? We got a great question from Brother Mike here. This is a huge one here. So, okay, I have always wondered who gave the 13 family bloodlines the right to rule the world, the permission to rule the world. Who gave the 13 family bloodlines the permission? Lucifer or?
Well, Lucifer Enki. Enki was the progenitor of Lucifer. He comes from the direct lineage of the Draco queen, Jami. So, yes, you could say the fallen angels, those that follow Lucifer, are the ones that infused a particular lineage with a little bit more reptilian genetics than everybody else, just so that they could maintain power. And that explains their interbreeding throughout the thousands of years in order to maintain their gene intact. Which explains why brothers would marry sisters, cousins, and so on and so forth.
You had to keep the line pure, right? And you said something about blood testing. You were saying something about a certain type of blood. It means that they were manipulating the DNA. Can you kind of like talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So basically, the master geneticist Enki, who many people in our community are saying, "Oh, he was a good guy." It's again, everything's been inverted. He made different strains. The reason he gave his lineage more of the draconian reptilian DNA was so that they could enslave and use the lineages of Adam, and the lineages of Adam are really those that maintain a higher concentration of angelic DNA, by the way, which could be traceable all the way to Michael. So basically, this whole battle between the Cabal and the rest of us is because of the war between Michael and Lucifer. So Enki was the one who created the different strains, and he's the one who appointed his own strain, his own offspring, as the dominators of our planet for thousands of years.
Powerful. What do you think? What do you think, son? What else you got on the table? I know we got a couple questions if you want to grab them over there.
Yeah,
too.
no, I love that. I do have one more thing I just want to ask him real quick, then we'll do the questions and get him out of here. I know he's probably a busy man. But Ishmael, I don't know how much TV or anything you watch, but I really like to decode movies and series and stuff. That's what I like to do. I think there's a lot of truth hidden within these films. There's something going on where it's some form of universal law or something that they show us the truth. So they do it in forms of predictive programming or whatever. But it's also known as revelation of the method, lesser magic. In this film, the series I'm watching, brother, it's called Evil. And there's this like antichrist baby that they're bringing forth into the world, and it's all disembodied looking. Have you seen the series yet, bro?
I haven't watched TV in over 25 years.
Oh my God, bro. There's so much truth in it. They got CERN in it. They're showing interdimensional gateways open. And then right there, when he's looking, the bottom picture at the bottom right of the screen with the dude with the glasses on, look on the ceiling, Ishmael. Do you notice the symbol, brother?
Yeah.
It's the Fleur de Lis. It's the Merovingians. So he's looking over this Antichrist deformed baby, and above him, they're making sure on the camera you see the symbol of that regime, which is that Merovingian bloodline. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm careful what I watch. I know my son, that's part of his thing where he decodes these shows. I do have to watch a little TV with Cindy once in a while, but I don't watch TV beyond that because I feel that it's bringing that out through the TV set. I think that besides the programming, the frequency, the vibration of that, I used to be like Tales of the Crypt with my mom, and all kinds of crazy stuff.
If
But now
you're
it's
aware of it, Dad, it
yeah,
doesn't work on you. So these cinemagicians that are casting spells, that's why it's so important what we do, bringing attention to it, because it
Right.
destructs the spell.
no, I like what you do. I think people need to know that and be educated to that. But the fact that you, brother, haven't watched TV in 25 years, that's something else.
I
Yeah,
don't blame him.
that's a long time, huh?
Yeah,
I
I've
said
been
I don't blame
too
him,
busy
but
researching and writing. That's why.
Yeah, well, you've definitely been busy for all the knowledge that you've got in there. Plus the fact, folks, I thought Ishmael was about in his 30s, maybe late 30s, around the same age as my son. He's a little bit younger than that, but you definitely are taking care of yourself, because I know you want your connection is strong as possible to get the downloads and everything that you're doing. Okay, TJ, do you want to read these off, or Ishmael, do you want to take anybody got a few questions? We're only going to be on, we're going to take a few questions, and then we're going to close this up for tonight. Okay.
you can go. You can pick them, Dad.
Okay, hold on. Let me go through here.
I just want to thank you, bro. I really enjoy your content, and I like your perspective and the way you look at things. I think you're a really cool person. And
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm actually a big fan of your work.
Appreciate that, Tommy. Appreciate that, brother. Now,
Yeah.
I do want to address one question that I just saw from the periphery of my eye, and that is about 23 and back. No, don't do any genetic testing, because that's how the Illuminati is able to find out about your genes. And so it's a genetic marker. Be careful with 23 and back, or 23 and me. I don't know what it's called, but don't do any of that.
Yep, and I did do it, and my mother talked me into it. And then I find out Hillary Clinton is gathering genetics on everyone, and I start researching that you can actually engineer certain things to, targeted DNA. So, yeah,
Exactly.
you might want to keep your DNA private.
Right,
I
exactly.
think I've told people before to check their lineage, and I kind of regret that after I did it, because I really didn't think about all that aspects of it at the time. I just thought it was something cool to do, see what we were. But yeah, there's definitely, when they have your DNA, man, they could do some dangerous things, and maybe they splice it with something. Who knows?
Well, they want to see who you descend from. They want to see where you come from, because again, this is a genetic war. It's a bloodline war between the lineages of Adam, Michael. The reason I call him Adam, Michael is because it's a war of genetics. When it comes down to the fall of Lucifer, as Lucifer throughout the galactic wars has always tried to impose his genetics all throughout the universe, and eliminate Michael's genetics. So the lineage of Michael is what gave us Jesus, what gave us Abraham, Jacob, and the original tribes. And then the lineage of Lucifer is what gave us Babylon. So it is a genetic war. So
Okay, oh, sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
No, it's okay.
Rhonda, she's been with me for a long time. She asked about the Mars jump room. I kind of think I know what she's talking about. There was this guy, his name was Max Spears. I was a huge fan of his work. And he was found vomiting up black goo after he was about to expose like this alien black magic cult. And he said that he's been to Mars, but it wasn't he went through a Stargate and then was instantly there. And he said it looked like Arizona and stuff. So you hear all this stuff that there's these jump rooms that they can travel between worlds throughout the multiverse. You familiar with any of them Stargates?
Yes. They were developed by secret space programs back in the late 50s. And so they have them all over the world. One main one is Los Angeles Airport. I don't know if it's a hotel or the Hilton, or if it's actually in the airport, but these are, you could say, portals between our planet and other planets. So I would say that the Mars portal or the entry point to the Mars colony is located at the LAX. Yes, from what I've gathered.
So you're telling me Mars is just like Earth, like
well,
as far as people can visit there and breathe,
not in the surface, not in the surface. Mars is hollow, so there's a lot of subterranean cities advanced colonies and extraterrestrials that live in Mars. But on the
Oh,
surface
wow.
world, the super soldiers that used to go through the jump rooms to go to Mars would have to wear a special suit, you could say, in order to go to the surface area.
Wow. Very interesting. Okay.
What,
Very interesting.
one last question before we go. What was the race from Mars? So I heard some remote viewers talking before that they did remote viewing of a past timeline on Mars, and they described them like the engineers in Prometheus. Now, in Prometheus, they were taking that black goo to pour it on humanity. Remember, to destroy them. The engineers were in that movie. They were using that black goo nanotechnology, programmable matter.
Right. Yeah, that's true. What happened was, for members of the middle timeline, a group of cyborgs that rebelled against the technocratic dystopia and AI decided to time travel back to the 1500s. So they settled on Mars, and they were there for a few hundred years until the Nazis in the 1930s and 40s developed space programs. And then, of course, when the Nazis went to Mars in the late 1940s, when they built out their secret deck in Antarctica, they had a straight-out war with these cyborgs. And these cyborgs were actually peaceful cyborgs. They wanted nothing to do with the negative agenda. They actually wanted to live in peace with other beings. So that war took place in I believe the late 1940s between the Nazi secret space program and the cyborgs that had been settling on Mars since the 1500s, I believe.
Wow, that's when they showed up over the White House around that time frame, when them UFOs showed up with their symbol on it. I'm always scared to mention that N word, because that's the one group, if you mention on YouTube, they'll get you out of here. I've noticed. Seems like they protect that faction very much so.
Well, that's the faction. That's the faction known as the military-industrial complex that has been controlling. That's the cabal, the neocons, the people behind the globalization programs. See, most people are under the understanding that the Nazis, the end lost the word war, but in actuality, they didn't. All they did was infiltrate and are now doing it covertly. They are you could say, the force behind the NWO.
100%. I agree with that. I think they're rolling out some type of Fourth Reich, bro, for real.
Yeah. One more question from a watcher here, one of our folks. Have we experienced a solar flash in 2012 or 2014 through 2014? Did we experience? This is from Justin.
No, not our planet, but I heard that a nearby planet that is orbiting Centauri Proximus, which is a nearby solar system, did experience a solar flash in 2012, and so we're next.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, because people say like 2012, the world really ended and we're stuck in some time loop. Have you ever heard that theory?
I've heard of it, but no, that's not the case.
That would be cool. That'd be crazy if that was the case, right?
Yeah, I know, but we're still scheduled to shift back to the original Terra Earth. And what I mean by that is Earth existing in dimensions 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, that's beautiful. Well, Brother Ismael, thank you so much for your time, folks. Everybody, and CJ, you guys can have the last closing words, but I want to make sure everybody get your books. Get Ismael's books. Click on his website. Go subscribe to his list. Watch this guy. He is going. God's got him doing something that's very important, and we got to transition from out in the darkness into the light. We have to, and we can't believe in organized stuff that has been edited and controlled by the dark force, Luciferian force, the bloodline. You look at all these different things going on in scripture. A lot of this stuff's been edited based on not the light, but the darkness, right? So anything you want to say, son, before we go? Ismael, anything you want to say to the brothers and sisters out there before we go? And then, son, you close it up.
Yeah, for those that are interested in my content, I broadcast on my own channel. It's under The Real Ismael Perez on YouTube. And you can find the link through my website. Make sure if you guys are looking for me on YouTube, just put in the real Ismael Perez, because I do have other pirated channels that are not me pretending to be me. And you guys could, keep updated with all of my updates as well.
And we'll add that, Ishmael. We'll add that in the description too.
Yeah, we will.
Beautiful.
Ishmael, I mean, I could keep you on here for 10 hours, bro. So thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I know we'll do future shows, and I apologize about my voice, guys. It's just podcasting last night. So, but thank you for coming on, brother. This was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, look, thanks, Lion Spirit, brother Ishmael. Gratitude to you, brother.
Likewise, brothers. Thank you for having me on.
Okay,
you guys have
brother.
an awesome evening.
Take care.
Thank you, guys. We're out.